Now it's being 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the wage and personnel meeting to order. It's Thursday, April 11th at 6 p.m. The meeting's being recorded by Zoom. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify the chair at this time. I'm not seeing anything. Items may be taken out of order at the chair's discretion of the chair. There was a previous printed agenda. There has been some changes, mostly honestly cancellations. The appointment schedule tonight is not going to happen. There's just going to be, we'll go right into Tina's update. Tina, and if you want to mention that, I'll leave that up to you.
Sure.
So Tina Betty, please.
Okay. So, just some of my regular vanilla updates. We have taken down the call firefighter posting. The chief's made 2 hires. He's content with that. We're looking to repost the finance director, town accountant, probably aiming for May. The library substitutes posting is, I think he's going to come through with 2 more hires, so that should be done. Our IT manager, as I think I said, is retiring mid-June. And the town is going with an IT service, contract service, as a replacement at this point.
Really?
Yep, cost saving services, all of that. And I think that's it, because I told you about the vets, right? Now the appointment that was supposed to happen, which was a classification request from the COA. After hashing everything out, it was ultimately decided to keep the position that's already in the bylaw, the title and the grade. There's gonna be some tweaks in the job description, but other than that, she'll move forward with using what's currently there, so no new changes for FY25.
Okay, can you also speak to the procurement officer?
So the procurement officer position was a request to add to the bylaw by the town administrator. This was part of the strategy of reducing costs. And it was to eliminate the ATA position and use that FT as a procurement officer position. However, with the additional cuts that need to happen to the budget, it was decided not to create that position for fiscal 25, and so we don't need to put it in the bylaw.
Okay,
Excellent.
okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Let's just, my goal tonight is to ultimately finish up the town meeting warrant as far as what our part is. I'd like to walk out of here with that in stone so that Jennifer can turn it in, God forbid, early to the town administration so that they meet their deadline. But I don't think that's a bad thing, turning it in early.
No.
So that being said, I'd like to move ahead with these discussion action items. If there's any issues, let's discuss them, hash them out, make any final changes, but I'd like to do it with the idea that we're gonna be final.
Okay.
Okay, so the first item is the grievance procedure. I read it, the handout, and I'm fine with it. There was one little thing on there that I was curious about, if anybody else had any issues, and I just want to find it here in a second. Section F. If you guys could take a look at that. And Tina too, walk through it and give me an example.
Should be determined.
Yeah, that's why, that was the one I was trying to. Here, you can look at it.
You know something, I gave you a copy of the printout. Okay. So it would be in there as well.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking. So F, that's
Yeah.
okay.
It should be determined that an employee other than a probationary employee was disciplined
Keep on
or
going.
discharged without just cause, he or she shall be restored to his or her former status. Provided, however, that the employer shall have the right to credit back any back pay awarded, any earnings or remuneration received by an employee on an account of work performed during the period involved. I just wanted an example of what that would be, you know, employee A, what happens? I always read these things with the idea of what's gonna happen in the real world, how does it work?
Yeah.
So that
So
was
how
one-
I understand this
Yeah, and
is
that's what I'm asking for.
if there was a discipline of, suspension and the person didn't get paid, once it was once it was determined that they needed to be restored, they would get paid. If they got terminated and got paid out for everything they're supposed to get paid out for, but then brought back to service, then we need to
Do
figure
a
out
credit,
that kind of a thing.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good explanation, that's what I was kind of,
Mhm.
when I read it the first time, I was just stumped. I couldn't come up with exactly what it
Yeah.
was, but that makes perfect sense. So we have a long-term employee that for whatever reason is suspended, then on appeal, it's decided that the suspension was wrong, the employee comes back, but the employee was paid out for all their vacation
Mhm.
time, for anything they owed, that gets credited against any back pay earnings that may get decided. Okay, I'm fine with that, all right.
So what is the verbiage just cause? How do you define that? Just cause, discharge?
Without just cause.
Just cause, right, that's what I'm saying.
In other words, there's an appeal,
Right,
and the person on appeal, let's say it's the Board of Selectmen, for
right,
argument's sake, or Civil Service Commission. You know, it could be another body according to
Yeah.
this. And that body decides, no, that person was unfairly suspended.
right.
Okay, when that person comes back,
Yeah.
if they were paid out for longevity, if they were.
Well,
paid
so
out-
with the
I did it, but what I'm
suspension,
saying-
with the
Well-
suspension, it wouldn't be a payout.
Okay.
It would be if they were terminated and brought back.
Gotcha,
So if they're paid out, so whenever
Right.
you leave an employer, you get your unused accrued vacation time.
okay, so
Automatically.
disciplined or discharged, but that doesn't mean
Right, so the
suspended.
discipline part.
This doesn't
So
mean suspended.
Right. this-
Well, no, but I'm saying on the discipline, it's two separate things, all right? So on the discipline side, if we suspend somebody without pay, and then it gets appealed, we need to pay them for 3 days, now we need to pay them because it went
Understood.
away. On the discharge side, if we discharge them and we paid everything, and then they were able to come back to work, we have to recoup what
Got
that looks like.
Okay, yep, I'm fine with it, I just,
yeah, that's the difference. It's just semantics. Actually, between discharge and discipline.
Well, it's actions, right? So discipline is one thing, discipline is, we want you to learn from your mistakes, and
Yeah.
discharges, you didn't learn from your mistakes.
Yeah,
So,
no, totally
Okay.
understood.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, okay.
that was my only question.
All right, no, understood.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, if you guys don't mind, for Jennifer's purposes as well, is take a vote on these as final, so that we can say to Jennifer, this is fine, okay? So I'll take a motion, if there's no more discussion, on section 14 grievance procedure.
I move as stated.
So your motion is to take section 14 in the handout as written.
That's written in its entirety.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Can I get a second, please?
I second.
All right, call the roll. Lorraine,
I,
Darlene,
I,
Jim, I. Okay,
no,
okay. The next item is not on, based on Tina's explanation, so rediscuss, if necessary, the classification of the position of office administrator water for FY 25. This is the email dated March 18th from Tina. So get back and look at that email, refresh myself.
So this is the one where we kind of rethought and said, okay, the numbers weren't there, although very close, but the art part of it, I still believe that this position should be at a higher grade, at the next
So
higher grade.
this is the email that starts, I've been thinking about the reclassification. Okay,
Yep.
everybody on the same email?
yep.
It came at 10:58 a.m. You want to see it, Lorraine?
she's got it up here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me just read
Oh,
it.
wait a minute, I do have it.
Yeah, let me just read it for
I
a
do have
second.
it.
No, last I let you know.
I'm gonna crack the window. Let me know if it's too, cold.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Glad I'm over here.
There's no wind.
I'm almost always running hot.
There's no wind.
Does anybody, any discussion about the email? Agree, disagree, contentions?
Huh? I had questions.
Okay,
The last meeting where we had the great discussion about what is one versus less than one.
about supervision, yeah.
And,
Mhm.
I looked,
That will be in the archives all time. Just so
that's a
you
great,
understand.
great conversation. What was bothering me was the one, and they were saying, oh, you had to, they had more than that. And I read at least 5 times every single sentence in that job description. And I could not find anything other than one part-time person. And, just give me a minute. Yeah, one part-time, but in that same paragraph, it says the number of employees supervised does not change substantially during the course, but there's no reference anywhere in the job description beyond one part-time.
Mhm.
Now, there are some questions about, yeah, this was about Munis.
About what?
Munis,
Okay.
the system, the
Yep.
training.
Mm-hmm.
It says responsible for Munis training, but it doesn't say anything about supervision in that specific outline. So basically, to my head, it's not graded as a 2. It should be graded as a 1, and that's being kind because it's only one part-time. There's nothing in the job description that supports more than 1 or more than one part-time. And then in further looking at it, at factor 6, contact with others, I gave them a 3 instead of a 4 because a 4,
The position.
but yes, I'm sorry, yeah, the
Mhm.
position. This particular position, they're graded as the JAQ as a 4, and a 4 is a frontline supervisor, and this is not a frontline supervisor. And I was looking at the book, the Bible.
Mhm.
Front counter would be what we're talking about here in terms of contact with the public, and yeah, I know you have to talk to a lot of people, but you're not a frontline supervisor because you have no supervision and there's nothing in the job description that supports it. So
So,
I'm kind of stuck on that.
right, and again, I mean, even if you look at my position, I don't supervise anybody because I have no staff, but every piece of the HR discipline is my doing, right? Now, I know that's not the same for the office administrator in water, because certainly they aren't tinkering with the pipes. But, if someone calls about their bill, if someone shows up at the door about this is happening, that position is the front line to that. They're not going to
They're
the
front-
foreman, or they're not going to the I think they call superintendent, water
Yeah.
superintendent to say, I don't want to pay my bill, or I thought I paid my bill,
Yeah.
or anything along those lines. So I guess I see the front line piece of it is the frontline supervision of the outside contact. Like, what is that?
Right. And I just.
Like with me, to an extent, I'm frontline supervision to the outside contact with the labor attorney. Like that's how we correspond. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
they deal with the town administrator as well, but,
Okay, yeah, because in this, when factor 6 was contact with others, it's
Yeah.
very specific. That, when you're doing this, someone has significant authority to bind financial and staffing resources, you're getting all that stuff. The factor takes into account the nature of public work, meaning the reality of working with the public or patrons, which may be unpleasant at times.
Mhm.
If a position is required to have significant contact with the public, either at a front counter or out in the field where the interaction can get testy,
Mhm.
then level 3 is appropriate,
Mhm.
not 4.
What's the board definition?
Level 4 handles complaints referred from lower level employees and use in-depth discussion and persuasion to
Mhm.
resolve problems, frontline supervisors and police officers. So this person is, that it seems to me the distinction is she a supervisor or not?
Mhm. That's a good point.
Again,
Yeah,
Well, we have
position-
nothing but the paper to look at, and if
well, but
that's all,
that,
it's
again,
all.
that you have nothing but the paper to look at, but
Mhm.
similar to how toward the wastewater facility, you got a
Mhm.
better understanding of what that job is, right? And so if you, not you, but in general, if
No,
you think,
totally
if
understand.
you think, yep, go ahead.
Again, having sat on the finance committee.
Yeah.
And done the water budget and worked with the water administrator. And sat in a meeting with the water commissioner and the water administrator. Every answer to every question outside of policy came from the water administrator.
And that is where I got caught again, because I was looking at some of the wordage. And, just for one little creation here, they took the word prepares and it puts creates.
Hmm.
Then it changes to, where's the other thing? This is the one of the things that caught me is exercises sole discretion in creating payment plans for residents. That is a pretty, significant responsibility. Collaborates with the water department, the superintendent, understood. But, here, what is where it got really funky, assigns work, hires in conjunction with the superintendent and determines performance management. But it doesn't, who are they assigning? They don't have, they have no employees.
Well, they have,
Can I-
go ahead. Yep.
Just one question or one statement
Okay.
to just kind of put. Actually, it's gonna be a three-part. The first part is that the person that is currently in the position has a personal rate currently, so the grade means nothing.
Mhm.
Well, right,
Yeah,
for the
for that
person,
point, yeah.
yeah.
For the next person coming in, it would mean something. Secondly, we're only saying in our handout that we're moving the position from, to exempt. That's all.
That's all we're doing this time.
We're not
Yes.
changing anything and so forth. So can I just make a recommendation? This is the third part, that we just deal with the exempt or
Okay.
not. And that when the situation comes up to review this, and it'll be the next person or the next situation,
Okay.
then we'll deal with it.
Can I put a caveat to that?
Let me hear it.
When we met last time, my understanding was, yes, do the exempt,
Yeah,
but this can be further discussed, and if a change at fall town meeting was warranted, then that could happen.
And why do we want to change it, other than for the next time getting somebody?
Because you still want the positions to be ranked correctly,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's,
I hear
you know what I'm
both,
saying?
no,
It's
I
like-
do, I hear both points, and I think honestly that we should postpone the ranking of it to fall town meeting, and then in the meantime,
Mhm.
get that person in here,
Yeah.
so we can hear what they
oh,
do.
that would be good.
Well, and
Yeah.
this is the thing, like, they were prepared to come, right?
Okay,
And
so-
I
so-
explained, I said, this
So,
is,
so
yeah.
I would like to
Yeah.
determine the exempt and the full-time
Yeah, two
for the
separate things, yeah.
handout.
Yes.
But then I'd like on the agenda, a future agenda,
Mhm.
to make an appointment for the water department administrator to come in
And the super,
and the super.
thank you.
Because I'd like to hear from them how this job is broken out. There are, because one of the things that's interesting about it is that person also has a lot of visual sight into some confidential things that have to regarding credit cards, payments, bank statements,
Payment plans. I
Payment
mean, I thought,
and so forth.
Yeah.
So there's that certain, so it's a tweener. So I guess all I'm trying to basically say is, let's not try to solve it all tonight. Let's just solve the handout issue.
Yeah.
If we have, one.
So that,
If we don't, we move on, we'll take
here's
care
what
of that.
hand is exempt. and
You make a
we'll-
lot of good points, but I do think that, I hate having a meeting without the person we're talking about here.
Cause we're looking for insight into that
Correct.
position.
And I would tell
I
you
don't
from
have
my experience, from dealing with their budget twice
Mhm.
and listening to that person, I tend to agree with Tina.
Yep.
But I also hear you, and I think they need to just better define it. And if they better defined it and said that you know, in regards to supervision, this person is responsible for making sure that the hours for all employees are brought in correctly
Yeah.
before they're entered into the system. That's supervision. I'm good with that. I'd like to hear that, but I don't know if that's what they do.
So the supervisor completed their position, I mean, their analysis as well, right?
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
had multiple.
So
meetings
we're
with-
just
yeah.
seeing this employee job analysis questionnaire. So I think we need to see the other.
Well, they worked on it together, the,
Okay,
the
right.
JAQ. They
The
were-
JAQ.
So again, just to remind people, so this was all, for the most part, brought up because of me, right? So I had to work with the administrator and the super because they were hiring the part-timer that this position supervises. And getting more in depth with what the administrator's job is, I walked away from that saying, this is an exempt position because she is truly supervising somebody else and has these other pieces, right? So on the exempt side of the house, I said, listen to them. I was like, I would like to push this forward to see if we move it to exempt. Here's the reason why. She doesn't make a lot, if anything, on overtime, so it wouldn't affect her financially. And they agreed. And then I said, let's look at this position. I'm not saying it could be graded higher, but at least let's look at it, right? And so we worked on it, the three of us worked on it, multiple meetings. And that's why, that's why when it came out so close to the, you know, to the next grade, I was like, oh, it's so close. But if we just look at just the numbers, science, it's not there. But again, having sat there, having dealt with her, almost Jim's experience, like, you know, the information's coming from that individual in that chair. The hope would be when that person goes and wins the lottery, that the next individual in that chair, we're gonna expect that from that individual. And I think if the grade is higher, the caliber of applicant would be as well.
Yeah, to me, it means that the language has to be specific in the job description to support any vote that I would make.
Sure.
If it's not there, it's not there. If it's not in black and white, how can I sit there and say, well, you know, we go to page.
Well, and I think that's the piece that Jim's getting at, what you guys would
You
do
can do that.
prior to this, like,
Yeah.
okay, you're reading something, you know, help me understand how this wording in the job description equals the wording in the Bible, and tell me what that's like.
Yeah, because you
Because it
have,
might not, it's not gonna be verbatim from what's in here to a job description.
Right.
There are certain parts, but
but
not
when
all.
it comes to supervision,
Mhm.
you gotta have something. You-
Right, but
you have
I
to
don't
be
necessarily think
explicit.
it will come word for word from what's in here.
Then I may still have the
Yeah,
same
that's fine.
questions,
No,
and
and that's
that's
fine.
okay.
And what,
And that
where,
is so okay with me.
and where I get come at it a little differently is that it's, if we're gonna make it an exempt position, none of the positions in grade 5 are exempt.
That's true
That
as well.
moves to
Yeah.
grade 6.
And it does,
And,
yeah,
and by moving it to an exempt position, okay, we're elevating the position. Therefore, if we're gonna elevate the position, let's elevate the grade.
right.
So that's the way I'm coming at it. I'm kind of taking it and going, okay, I hear Lorraine and she's right,
Yeah.
the superintendent, but I also see this exempt thing.
Yep.
And if we have an exempt position in grade 5, why can't we have another exempt position in grade 5? But if we say the cutoff is grade 5 to grade 6, that means the bar is a little higher so that the job description's a little more better descriptive.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you're okay with holding off on changing the grade till after, but we are okay on making exempt,
Oh, I'm all right with no exempt. It was, I get wonky because if I looked at my grading versus their grading.
yeah,
There's a big difference. It's
Understood.
like I need to get that
understood,
right.
I understand.
So I have no problem doing exempt. And we can do the rest of it in the future where we can have a conversation with the superintendent and the employee as to what are they actually doing.
Okay, so the plan is,
Yeah.
that for the standpoint, I'm not looking for a vote on this, but from the standpoint of the discussion regarding, the office administrator water, we're okay with the way it appears in the annual town meeting handout. But we want to have a future discussion about the grade of the position after town meeting.
Right, do you want to decide when or not at this?
June or July, if we have a meeting, I'd like to hear that have the person.
okay.
Then that gives us plenty of time before fall town meeting to
Yeah.
put the proposal together if we wanted to sign
Yeah.
and change the rate.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So that's, I'm
June
just,
Sounds good.
I'm just trying to get it to.
No, it makes
you
perfect
know,
sense.
Cause you make a lot of good points, but again, my fear is that they're just not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, if you experienced what I experienced, you may not think the same. And the reason is because during our meeting, the phone rang and and then this person walked in and she had to take care of that. And I'm like, you know, actually turned to one of the commissioners, what are you doing? I didn't do anything.
Well, this is it. I'm reading this job
Yeah.
description and all of this stuff, all of a sudden is going down to water superintendent, and I'm like, well, what's he? Who's that person doing? What has he picked up?
Yeah.
Did he pick up, responsibilities, you know?
Mhm.
But it may just be, a collaboration between the two of them that's excellent.
Sure. That's team
And
effort.
Yeah,
that
and
might be just as simple as that.
I
Yep.
think especially in the labor departments, their line of work and all of them is so different that when you think of the administrator or the admin in that, I mean, yeah, she's not putting a wrench to a pipe, but she probably has to, she knows just as much.
Yeah.
She understands,
And it
all, you know, and
addressed
I think
that,
that's
yeah.
true for a lot of the admins in
Yeah.
the labor departments, because
Yeah.
that world just, those worlds are just
Those are
different,
different,
you know?
entirely different worlds, and it does talk about her knowledge
Yeah.
of systems and language, and I understand that, and it's like, yeah, I know what you're doing. But I got caught
Yeah,
on those
sure.
little odds, but we'll put it to the side and we'll do it after town meeting, and thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Lenny. Thank you.
Anytime.
Okay, next item is finished recommendations for annual town meeting review draft of the handout. I have reviewed the handout, since I'm gonna be the one that has to present it. And I'm fine with it, and basically, what I'd focus on are the purposes. Okay,
Yeah.
and the purposes reflect what we discussed. If there were any questions on that, and as I said, you know, the first one regarding the compensation, the purpose to provide a 5 to 7% increase for promotion reflex rate. I think that gets to what we discussed at the meeting about giving them the tools.
Yep.
In a very changing job market, to get a candidate without having to, you know, set a hard fast rule of 3% and
Yeah.
come back to us and then, you know, a chance of losing a candidate. So I'm very, very comfortable with that.
I think it's a healthy range.
Yeah, entrance rate for new employees, the attached entrance rate for new employees to reflect the current practice. If the Board of Selectmen during the presentation asked me, Tina, what am I to say?
Hold please. What is it?
Hold,
What part are
please.
we talking about here?
B,
B,
1B.
Entrance rate for, to reflect the current practice, so the current practice is if wage and personnel position. If we need to bring the person in higher than a 3, step 3, then wage and personnel gets involved. And that's just not in there anywhere.
Right, the bylaw says now minimum.
No.
So basically, the reflect the current practice is a reflection of A, to provide the 5 to 7%.
Yeah, I mean, it's two different things. One's promotion and one's entrance rate.
Okay, so an entrance rate, what is the current practice is anything over 3 comes to us.
Step 3 comes to
Step
you.
3, are
Yep.
we changing that?
No,
Well,
we're,
in the bylaw, it says anything over step 1,
Right,
Okay, so we are
right.
making it step 3.
Yeah.
because
Okay.
that's
what the
how
practice
it's
has been.
the
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah.
Current bylaw,
Yeah.
step 1, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, so the current bylaw says anything above the
Yeah.
minimum is step.
all right.
Right.
And everybody's okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Sick leave, this is to reflect the wording found in the KTU contract, again,
That's the workers' comp part of it, right? Yep.
yeah. I believe that, and so I assume you'll be at this meeting, so I may go, Tina, can you just? Yeah.
No, okay.
All I say is, can you just, you know,
You told me to do it.
shed a little light underneath it,
Sure.
you
Tina
know?
said we had to do
That's right, you
it.
just said-
All right, but it also goes back to our consistency of making sure that the wage and personnel people have the same treatment as the union
As
employees.
close as possible.
As close as possible.
Right.
It's
Right.
correct.
The fairest treatment possible.
Yeah.
Right. Next item, the personnel appeals, to provide the grievance procedure for wage and personnel employees. We reviewed that. I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you guys are too.
Yes.
Miscellaneous provisions. Tina, I need you to do section 15 and tell me what the current practice is. It just basically says that the benefits are available in your office.
Yeah,
I think
details
before
are
it said the
available.
It wasn't to say the treasurer.
It said
Yeah.
treasurer,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Details-
so
Yeah, what does
basically,
it say? What does it
It
say right
says-
now?
Details are available
Yeah.
upon request at the treasurer's office, and then, we spoke on it, you had your email on November sixth about
Mhm.
changing it to Tina.
Yeah. Well,
So
so
we
HR manager,
changed it
yeah.
to
HR, sorry.
And the website,
right,
because this was before the website.
Yeah, it was before, HR.
right,
Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes, it was before HR.
okay. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Everybody else, good?
Yes, sir.
Classification and rates compensation for Schedule A, to change office administrator to exempt, we've discussed that. To change the grade of the wastewater superintendent, full-time exempt from 12 to 13, we've discussed that. And to provide the provide the positions of water superintendent and wastewater superintendent a stipend equal to what is negotiated in the KTU contracts for professional licenses required in this position, required for this position or by the state to reflect the current practice. We all agree on that.
Mhm.
And it was the 500, right?
It depends on
This
what
year,
it
I
is.
think is
Yeah,
500. It's
500.
whatever
500.
KTU does, so
Okay.
that's why they took dollar
So,
amount.
okay.
Gotcha.
To provide a 3.5% cost of living adjustment for all positions in wage and personnel,
Mhm.
Except for that one.
except right
Let's see.
down below.
That's,
Yeah.
that's why I separated that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was very good choice. That was very good, big name clarity.
Okay,
Good job.
to provide, and then the next purpose, to provide a 3.5 cost of living, adjustment for positions except for the entry level. So, okay, because it's C3.
Mhm.
Yep. I don't have any issues with that one either. D, a 3.5% cost of living, I don't have any issues with. Table of contents, to update the table of contents with changes voted at town meeting. So all these changes that are in the handout will be reflected in the table of contents.
Excellent.
Okay, do you have any comments?
No, if you're happy with the purposes,
Yep,
that's fine.
yep, nope, I'm good. I mean, that's how I think this meeting with the selectmen's gonna go anyway, so.
Very simple.
Yeah.
I think.
So, and then, let's see. So what I'd like to do is just get a recommendation from us in a vote for the, annual town meeting and, so what I would say is, I move that we accept the ATM handout draft, as written,
So moved.
okay? Okay.
Rain's getting good.
Yes, I love it. I'll take the roll, Lorraine.
Lorraine, yes.
Okay, Darlene,
Yes.
Jim, yes. Okay,
Excellent.
so that recommendation is done. Preparing for the Board of Selectmen meeting, I think that's basically what we just did.
Yeah.
Unless anybody else has any other issues,
When is it? When is the board?
April the
23rd.
23rd, okay? And then, prepare for the annual town meeting of May 11th, again, I think we just did it,
Yes.
okay? Any other questions?
Mhm.
Okay, Tina, thank you again for your efforts and work, I appreciate it,
Of course.
as does the board.
You've been-
Jennifer, same to you as well, thank you. I do want to try to get this done 100%, I think we have.
Yes, because all I need to do is just take off ATM handout draft. That's the
Okay.
only thing I need to do.
Okay,
Excellent.
and then, any other, comments, for the group?
One thing, we'll need the numbers for the month, so I'll finish this off.
Yep.
Send it to Keith and Tricia, right?
You mean for the town warrant? What warrant article we have?
Well, right, because remember, they need the numbers.
Mhm.
How much this is going
Yeah.
to
I was
cost.
gonna say that comes through treasury, right?
Right, so
Right.
should I just send this to Carol and ask her? Or did she already know about, she must.
She
have
may
already
have.
She
No
done
one-
knows, so
no
right, so
harm,
the
no
way,
foul.
the way the budget,
Yeah, they know it's coming.
they know it's
because
coming, and then they probably
he-
even have the numbers, to be honest with you.
He's already brought it up
Yeah.
with the selectmen. I watched the
So do I
selectmen.
need to do- Because remember, it's split between
Yeah.
water and sewer.
It's got the breakdown, so she should have that, so I would just
Yeah.
reach out to Carol.
But I would be
They
very
did the
careful
numbers.
because we did not touch that last position. Remember the counselor? I mean, it's not gonna make an awful lot of difference.
Right, you don't
but
want her to
the
go
number-
3.5 to everything
Right,
across.
the number
No.
changes, so just to point that out,
Yeah.
that position was not changed.
Mhm.
All
So
right,
you
so
wanna get down to the
for
right.
Carol's email, I'll just do a summary of the changes.
Mm.
Right,
And I'll also send her this.
and say, is there
Just-
anything else you need from me to finish off?
Give me those numbers.
Right,
Right.
but she'll need to do the breakdown, isn't it, between the general fund and the water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and sewer?
and right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She does that little fine tuning
Yeah.
thing. We can't do that because we don't have that money.
So do you know who's working on the warrant? Will it be Tricia now?
I thought-
I think it's Keith.
I think
All right,
it is,
because he
yeah.
did the special town.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is
He
Keith,
worked-
yeah,
because,
All right,
yeah, I watched the selectmen meeting, on Tuesday night, and they went through every warrant
Yeah.
article.
all right.
And, you know, and he basically highlighted for the selectmen what the basic provision was in the
Yeah.
article.
All right.
So, he had already mentioned the 3.5%.
Yeah.
So, meaning they were talking in terms of the budget, so
Yeah.
that's why. So, okay, not hearing anything else, regarding, go ahead, Tina.
It's
Yeah.
gonna open up a can of worms.
No,
Weekend.
my question is, and I guess it's Darlene, but I think Jim might have a better sense. Will FinCom, because they've been bringing up salaries every single time they review a department's budget, will they bring up something at town meeting, do you think, about the 3.5%, even though the whole rest of the town is going to, well, most of the town's going 3.5%?
Well, FinCom will look at the warrant article and see what the total expense is for the
Right,
wage and personnel
right.
employees.
Right,
They also will look at what but truth be told is that's within the guidelines of what was set out for the budget.
okay,
Um,
so it shouldn't be, and again, I'm only bringing it up this year because every budget that was reviewed, they brought up the wage and personnel salaries.
oh, what, you mean every annual town meeting?
No, I mean, every time a department head went to FinCom this year, it was, and I just want to point out that the wage and personnel positions, it might have been all positions, I only deal with wage and personnel, but, you know, have had an increase of XYZ over the last so many years.
Okay, and again, I don't know what you want us to do.
I don't want you to do anything,
Yeah.
I'm just like, let's just
No,
kind of
I'm
prepare.
speaking rhetorically to
Yeah.
FinCom. Don't
Oh,
forget,
oh.
I was a member of
That's why
FinCom.
I'm asking, it's just
Okay.
the appointee, so
Yeah.
that's why I was
Yeah.
like,
I was a member of FinCom, so
Right.
I understand,
yeah.
mainly the characters that would ask those questions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you know, there's always been a consistent sense of fairness with the Wage and
Mhm.
Personnel Board.
Mhm.
And my advice to FinCom is that if you'd like to see the wage and personnel increases be lower, then I think we need to negotiate with all the other unions
Mhm.
accordingly.
Mhm.
And maybe you don't want to hear that,
Right.
but that's the only answer because, you know, they still work the same number of hours as the union employees.
Yeah.
They still work, we're actually trying to make it better by giving them a grievance procedure,
Mhm. Mhm.
by making sure that our holidays line up,
Yep.
and we don't do it in every case. And I would point to the example of the head of the COA.
Yep.
Where we did not turn around and a position was involved that she was looking to be treated in a way
Mhm.
that quite frankly did not follow our bylaws,
Mhm.
and we stood by the bylaws
Yeah.
and didn't do it. Now, in a union situation, that might be different.
Right.
Okay, but in our situation, we actually have a procedure that says you must work more than 20 hours
Right.
for us to treat you a certain different way.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
All right.
I don't have any problem talking to FinCom. If you don't
I'm
want to.
sure you don't.
Right.
It's just, like I said,
Yeah.
it's been brought up a couple of times. At every meeting, it's been brought up, but then after the meeting, it's kind of been brought up like,
So it's
Okay.
best to be prepared.
right.
And they know.
And again, the other question I'd ask is, well, then what has been the increases on the union side?
It's the exact same.
It's the exact
I mean,
same.
that's what I mean. And,
Right.
and, and
But
again, I can't remember if they.
why
if
is
they
it being
up
brought up
wages.
separately? That's what I'd like to.
Again, I don't know if it's specifically been brought up separately. In my particular budget, I only have a wage and personnel person, but I know the others have had, and I was hearing wage and personnel.
And I've been on that board when the person has asked about wage and personnel.
Yeah.
And I always shake my head each time, and I will do it publicly. Then why would you treat them differently than any of the other people that work for the town? The teachers get their increases, police, the fire, the KTU, they all get theirs.
Yeah.
We're not asking for anything more.
No, and that's just it. It's, especially now with this comp study, because everyone's on the same grade.
Yep.
So, you know, my spread between steps, if my grade has the same as a KTU, the spread between the steps is gonna be the same, and now the COLA is gonna be the same. Whereas with all the different contracts, the spread between the steps,
Right.
so,
Right.
but,
So
yeah. Okay.
I think honestly, I have to, commend you, Keith, and the rest of the administration for getting those things consistent,
Yeah,
Yes.
okay?
yeah.
Because now you can figure out what they are.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what the amounts are. Gonna be.
Right.
So, I didn't see it in the beginning, but after seeing it now for a couple of years, I have to compliment. So I think you guys did a really good job finally getting them together.
You're trying,
So,
you're trying.
So if you can get a
So Tina
question,
brought up a good question. So how will you relay this information to the finance committee? I mean, what we're planning on doing for town meeting. You want me to send them a copy of the handbook? And who is the chairman?
well, Carl,
Okay.
but she's our representative for the finance committee.
Would you prefer Darlene to send it?
No, I'm just saying, it's up to you. How do you want the committee to get the information from us?
Well, how was it in the past? Sometimes a meeting, sometimes.
I know, I seem to remember sometimes you guys went to meetings, that's what I'm like.
Yeah.
Just in case you have any additional questions.
You can go ask them
Yeah,
and then come back and let us know.
okay.
That's fine.
So do
That's
you-
why you're doing your
But
thing.
yeah, so do you want me to copy Carl when I send it to Keith and
CC him.
Tricia?
it probably would be
See, and then
easier
you'll
for you
follow
to
up, so
just.
that it's. And then you
And the
can
way,
follow up.
I would do it is I would go to Carl and say, Carl, we CC'd you the information for annual town meeting. Do you have any questions or do you think there's a reason that wage and personnel should come before the finance committee?
Okay,
And let him decide,
yeah, that's a good way to do it.
okay? And then if he says, yeah, I think you guys ought to make a presentation, fine,
Okay,
we'll
that's
tell them what we think.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to accept it.
Right.
Okay, and they can also make a change or make a recommendation to
They can
change.
make a recommendation.
But, you know, it's really up to the town voters at the annual town meeting.
Yeah.
That's who decides
Right, if
So-
the finance committee wanted to change, they would have to make an amendment on.
On the
town
floor.
meeting. On the floor.
on the floor. Okay, and they can also show a negative vote. That's fine too.
Mhm.
And then if, you know, if I didn't know what it was for, you'd see me stand up at the annual town meeting and go, you know, Carl, can you please explain the vote and who voted no and why?
So do they get the changes to the bylaw that aren't money related?
We're supposed to give them an annual report every year. I believe it says that in the bylaw. So this would be an easy way to do it.
Okay. Because the things that aren't financial, like the grievance procedure,
They're not
they
gonna win.
Right, but
care.
Why would they? I mean,
You know?
they got the hand out and all they're gonna do is.
Yeah,
pick
I
out
mean,
what
there
they
are a
need.
lot of money related things, obviously,
Yeah.
there's the separate
no, we're
article,
supposed to
but
give
there's.
them an annual report. So I would assume that would be everything you're going to. At
Then-
least that's how it's been done.
Yeah.
in the
Maybe at
past.
some
Yeah.
places, the grievance could cost money and could.
Yeah.
Well, it does,
So,
yeah,
you
no,
know,
I
you
would
know.
turn around, you know, it's better to give them what they want or what they, more than what they need to look at. For the simple reason that if there's any questions we don't know, but it's always good to see another set of eyes.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. So you're going to copy Carl, send it to Keith, and you're going to check with Carl to see that he got it, and is there anything further he'd like to see us do?
Okay.
As a committee. That makes sense?
And then I'll post you for town meeting.
Yep, okay. Do we want to have a meeting posted prior to town meeting to change anything?
You will have to do it by Zoom. Remember, we
Yeah.
had this. Zoom
I'm just like,
session.
But I'm just saying, do we need to? I'm asking you
See,
to.
what I, but
Can you,
Oh.
you might wanna look at that a little bit more, because
We beat that to death.
you did, all right. I only say that because I was in a meeting before town meeting and I
Right
don't-
before,
Yeah.
at town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
like
through, I
on
was
the
at
stage.
finance committee, on
Yeah.
stage, behind the
Right.
curtain, at a meeting.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, what came up was during the town meeting was a piece of land off of 44. Okay, behind John Norrie's,
oh, okay,
quarry.
yeah.
And I stood up, I was at the finance committee and I said, why are we giving that land up? Okay, as a transfer or a quick sale, when we have billboard revenue on Route 3 that the town is getting, can someone tell me what the possible billboard revenue would be on Route 44? And Mary McKinnon went, that's a really good point. And it was last minute at town meeting, there was no Zoom.
We
And-
used to have meetings at town meeting,
I
but
know.
you were the one who spoke with Gloria last year,
Mhm.
remember?
Yep,
And the year before, when you were chairman, remember the town clerk's office question? They said,
I mean, they know more than I, obviously, like, I don't dive into that. I just was like, when I was in the meeting, I'm like, wait a
you
minute.
set up a meeting the Thursday before town meeting, and if there's nothing, then you don't
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah,
Or
that's-
even if you want to get together for a few minutes, we can do
yeah,
that.
all right, so,
What
so
about that?
our next planned meeting is going to be May 9th. That's the Thursday before.
Yeah.
All right,
The ninth.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can make that one.
That's
That's a
okay.
Thursday, right?
right,
Unless you want to meet Monday that week. I
that's
mean,
May 6th.
It's up to you guys. If you want to have a meeting that week before town meeting, just in case something comes up.
Let's
just to
make it
prepare?
from May the 6th,
Ma-
because that
yeah.
typically stays in our Monday
Routines.
routine.
Oh, wait. a
And
minute, we're doing
chances are this room would probably be available
Yeah.
Mhm.
if we need it.
Right.
And that's our tentative date.
And
That's
I'll-
our date for for a possible, our next wage and personnel meeting if we need it.
Okay.
Because if something happens, at least we have a few days for Jennifer to
Oh, that's true.
respond,
You're
yeah,
right.
versus one day, which is not gonna work.
And then
Yeah,
you can
that's
tell Carl that our next meeting scheduled is May the 9th.
And
So-
does that mean,
May 6th rather, I'm sorry. May
does that
6th.
mean May 20th, we're not gonna have a meeting?
No,
At this point, probably not.
yeah.
All
I'll
right,
keep it on there, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
at this
it's kind
point,
of a
probably not.
Question mark, because then the April is the board. I just wanted to make a comment about the inquiries about wage and personnel
Yeah.
raises, you know.
And
so-
again, I'm not 100% sure it's
Yeah, I
just wage and
understand.
personnel,
It could
but
be just one
yeah.
person, it could be more than one person, but I just want to remind them, as well as you and everybody else, the purpose of the wage and personnel is to maintain a fair and equitably pay level.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna open the door to wage and personnel, then you have to try to open up contracts, and good luck
Sure.
with that,
Sure.
because that won't change. So the bylaw, the wage and personnel board is created, I think, for to maintain exactly what it says, fair and equitable. So if you start putzing around with one group,
Yeah, and I don't know if you can with the unions because,
well, you
When-
can't do it with the contracts, but you can try it.
but once,
Won't work,
once,
though.
once a town votes contracts in, they're voting the first year as an accumulative. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
understand
no,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't even know if you can go back and say like, oh, we gotta change wages now.
I can try to change wage and personnel because it's
Wage
not the
personnel,
same.
right, wage personnel is
You
year by
know,
year,
that's why
right?
I said good luck to them.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, let's face it, it's not fair to, if the union people the union contracts are getting 3.5%,
Mhm.
to face the wage and personnel people and say, you're gonna get 2.
That won't work.
Okay, it's not right.
Can't do it.
And, you know, and I think the finance committee just has to understand that that's the price of doing business.
And
Okay.
next year it's
Next year we'll
negotiated for
have to.
2%, right?
Right, so, you know, that's the way, unfortunately, that's one of those, for lack of better words, mandates that we just have to accept.
Right.
Okay, I don't necessarily agree all the time, but it's not because of it being a wage and personnel person.
Right.
It's necessarily agree with the whole structure for the town, but that's just my opinion.
There's always been that whole thing with the unions, all that they pay union dues, and also too, that they let them strike. So.
Well,
they
technically,
have-
they're not allowed to go on
No,
strike.
yeah, but.
None of them.
No, no, I'm certain, yeah, but do you know what I'm saying? So they have a different set of rules that they follow so that wage and personnel then just take along, if they want to look at it like that. If they wanted to look at
It
it that
is
way.
the bylaw. So if you want to start putzing around, you know, they can't do anything on the bylaw without, you know, going through the board and then through town meeting. But to question the value of wage and personnel.
I'm just
Yeah, no.
being devil's advocate.
No, we're doing the same thing, we're all talking.
No, it's a good
Same
point.
thing.
I mean, I hear your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
They pay dues, wage and personnel doesn't. They have a structure, wage and personnel doesn't. No, I understand all that, but at the same time, the, practice has been that we treat them equally. And, I can't see a reason to change that practice. If somebody who's either on the finance committee, or town administration, or another board has an idea that that could happen, I'd love to hear how you do it.
Yeah,
All right, so, I don't think so, but, I think it's important that our bylaw does state that our job is to provide equal and to provide equity across non-union positions.
Yeah.
And, I think honestly, the town employees look at us for that.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and I think, how many we have, 110?
I mean, the regular ones?
No, the wage and personnel.
Yeah, I know, but the regular ones, I
Yeah.
don't even know if there's that many,
Okay,
right? I mean, if you count like the seasonal and the,
that's
you know,
everywhere.
yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay, but I mean, that's the,
There must be more than 10, don't you think?
no, 100.
Oh, yeah.
I said 100.
No, there are more 10 jobs, there are more than 10 jobs and.
I was just gonna say, I think there's 10, exec sex.
Yeah, but I think that fair and equitable pay, that to me, that's, you know, cast in stone.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah, and I do-
Not,
I-
and we've done so very well for the last 6 years.
I do try to, remind and encourage wage and personnel members to come to this meeting so that they're heard with whatever concerns they might have. And, you know, because sometimes I'll get the feedback of, why does it always happen with wage and personnel? It's like, well, go to the meeting, you know, like this is,
Read the bylaw.
right, you know?
Every year after town meeting, you get a new bylaw. So.
Well, maybe they're listening to the recording.
Yeah.
Maybe, but then chime in. You know, like if you, I think, you know, I mean, and I will say, I do think, I think people understand the role of wage and personnel and
Yeah.
what for them as individuals. And again, when I think of wage and personnel, yes, we have all these positions, but the majority falls on the department heads and a handful full of exempt positions that are in administration. And, you know, that those are different types of jobs than police, fire, labor, admin. So,
So does every town have a WP?
No.
No, I don't
No.
think so, yeah.
Some of the finance committee do,
Interesting.
Yeah.
so.
you have some all the department heads are on contracts and they're not
Right.
supposed to.
Mhm, mhm.
Been there, yeah.
All right,
right.
last is review and approve the minutes of March the 18th. Jennifer sent them out a little while ago. I looked at them. I didn't have any issue with them. There should be copies there.
Excuse me, I agree with you. Red
Okay.
and, okay.
Darlene, any issues on your side?
None.
Okay, can I take a motion?
I move to approve, oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. I move to approve the minutes for March 18th, 2024,
As written.
as written.
A second?
Second,
Great, I'll call the roll, Lorraine,
aye,
Darlene,
Aye.
Jim, aye.
aye.
We've already talked about the next meeting.
Yep.
The May 20th meeting could be just, let's leave that on hold at this point, and let's do the May 6th meeting tentative, since it'll fall right before town meeting in case there's something we have to do.
All right, so May 6th is tentative.
No, May 6th, well,
it's
tentative
definite.
only if we have, only from the standpoint that if we have nothing to do,
Well, you could always do the minutes, but.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
okay?
All right.
Hard pass on that.
So,
You have enough to do, you have enough to do.
so May 6th is tentative. with-
No, May 6th is
Is
tentative,
definite? No.
It's tentative.
20th is tentative.
Yeah.
And the 23rd, no, that's May, so never mind.
All right, so the bottom line is we're having only one meeting in May.
And it could be the 6th or the 20th,
Oh, that's a
Okay.
great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Very good.
okay?
It's like you've done this forever or something. Yeah.
Because remember, we'll have to get the bylaw ready for the town clerk's office.
That's correct.
And
But
sign
that
offs.
can be done in June.
Yeah,
Right.
and the side.
That's
see.
usually that would be probably, because if there's any change on the town
Right.
floor.
Oh, yes, right.
Meeting
Yeah.
floor would make a change.
Mhm.
All right, anything else for the good of the group?
I have nothing to.
Okay, then I would ask for a motion to close the meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting of Wage and Personnel at 6:55 PM.
Second,
I second.
I'll call the roll. Lorraine,
Aye.
Darlene,
I.
Jim, I.